Hey guys, and welcome! Season 2 of Battlefield 2042 is very close to the end and will only last for a few more hours, and before Season 3 will start off, I thought it's time to take an honest look at everything we got with Master of Arms and see how good or not good the season and its content was, and what could be improved with Season 3 and beyond. But before I go more into detail with this, I want to start with a short overview of everything we got. So with Season 2 there was the new map Stranded added to the game, the new Specialist Crawford, the two primary weapons AM-40 and Avancys LMG, the new sidearm PF-51, the concussion grenade as a throwable, the two new vehicles EBLC Ram and Polaris RZR, 8 vault weapons, the two reworked maps Renewal and Orbital, a lot of cosmetic items with the battle pass and the in-game store, 12 weeks of weekly missions, the Liquidators mid-season event, and 3 major updates with a lot of fixes and improvements. So on paper that doesn't look too bad already, but let's take a closer look at everything now, starting with the new map. Stranded took us to a dried out part of Gatun Lake in Panama and brought the backstory of the black market to the game, who had built up an illicit arms trading center inside an old shipwreck. And when watching the trailer back then, it seemed to me like this would be a fast-paced close combat map with reduced vehicles and more focused on infantry. And for Breakthrough this is indeed true, cause here vehicles were completely removed from the mode and everything that is left is infantry and their gadgets. In Conquest on the other hand this is different, and here the map has a mix of both infantry and vehicles, just like it is on all other maps. And in general I enjoyed the map for quite a while, mostly in Breakthrough, but for some reason it started to get old a lot faster than the Season 1 map Exposure. I can't really tell why, maybe it is because the area inside and also around the ship doesn't change much and basically feels like another version of the map Discarded that has a very similar setup, or maybe because I'm enjoying dried out lakes not as much as green mountainsides. I'm not sure if that's just me in this case, but I read it from a few others as well, so maybe you could write your opinion about this in the comments below, that would be very interesting. The design of the map however is pretty good and much better than the original versions of the vanilla maps, and I also like the attempt to bring a completely infantry focused map to the game, even though it's only in one mode. What I don't like about the map on the other hand is that it doesn't have a different layout for 64 and 128 player modes, cause when it is included in the Exodus Conquest playlist that only runs 64 players, we still play the large 128 player version of the map, and that's just too big for that low player count. So Stranded, even though it's not my absolute favorite, is still a very solid addition to the game. Same goes for the two new versions of the vanilla maps Renewal and Orbital that were added with the updates 2.1 and 2.2. Both got the same makeover that Kaleidoscope received in Season 1, and there was a lot more cover added and terrain raised and lowered to break lines of sight and make it easier for infantry to maneuver from one objective to the other. The flag positions have been adjusted or were even changed completely, and new areas have been added to the maps to make them more interesting to play. And overall there's absolutely nothing negative to say about these reworks, even though I think that Orbital wasn't one of the maps with the highest priority. But maybe that's exactly the reason why we got it already, cause there was not so much to do than for other maps like Breakaway or Hourglass. In general, both of the maps have been improved with their new versions and are definitely more fun to play than before. I just wish they would have released them with these designs right from the start and not only 1 year later. But better late than never. Next up is the new Specialist Crawford, and he was added as an entry to the support class with his mounted Vulcan as active gadget and the ability to revive everyone and in addition fill up their gadget ammo as passive trait. And I gotta be honest, when I saw the trailer and heard the first details about him, I thought it might be a huge problem to balance the specialist and make him useful on one side but not overpowered on the other side. And I was very positively surprised to see him having the perfect balance right from the start without being a pain to play or play against. The only thing that doesn't really fit very well for me is his addition to the support specialists, cause with the mounted turret and his background of being an arms trader, I always feel like he would be a better fit for the engineer class. Besides this, whenever I play him, I totally forget about the ability to revive until my mates start to ping like crazy. It just doesn't feel like a natural combination compared to Falk or Angel. But luckily DICE seems to feel the same way about this, and Crawford will move to the engineers with the introduction of the class system later in Season 3, while Irish will take his place as a support specialist. This means that Crawford will lose the ability to revive and will instead get something that fits the engineer class a bit more, most likely an ability that has to do with repairing, because that's what we saw in the latest development update. And Irish will then instead be able to revive. So this is a very good change that will be made here, and I think it will also make Crawford even more attractive for playing. He is a good and useful specialist already, only with a bit of a strange combination of abilities. And now let's have a closer look at the new weapons, cause I found that they were a lot better than the ones we got with Season 1, even though they started with a few issues. The weapons that were added with Master of Arms are the AM40 Assault Rifle, the Avancys LMG and the PF51 Sidearm. And all of these weapons have in common that they don't really fit exactly into their respective categories, but are always bridges between two categories. So even though the AM40 was added to the Assault Rifles, it actually feels a lot more like an SMG. The Avancys, on the other hand, is a bridge between LMGs and Assault Rifles. And the PF51 is also closer to an SMG instead of a sidearm. So it's sometimes a bit hard to tell what the right playstyle or situations for these weapons is. Besides this, the Avancys started as a very strong and almost overpowered weapon into the season, while the AM40 always felt very weak and not really fitting for any of the ranges. This was also caused by the wrong headshot multiplier both weapons had at the start of the season, and this was fixed with update 2.1, alongside some tweaks to the weapon's balance. However, the Avancys is still one of the strongest weapons in the game right now, even though it's not that overpowered anymore, but the AM40 got a lot better and is now a pretty good hybrid of AR and SMG. So overall the weapons we got with the season were a good addition, and I really enjoy playing all of them, and even though they had started with some bugs and balancing issues, they are mostly at a very good spot now. For the other weapons we got, which are the 8 vault weapons coming over from Battlefield Portal, the balance was not so well right at the beginning, and it still isn't at the end of the season, at least for most of them. The first set we received were the M16A3 Assault Rifle and the M60E4 LMG, and both started very weak and a lot less reliable than basically all other weapons from their categories, and the only thing that made the M16 kinda strong was the LVG underbarrel launcher, but only because it was not destroyed by Iris Shootdown Sentinel, but that was fixed with a later update. The weapons themselves, however, were a bit disappointing at the beginning, not only because of their low firepower and high recoil, but also because of the missing attachment unlocks and weapon skins. All of them have to be unlocked with assignments though, but after this the motivation to keep playing them is pretty low simply because there's nothing to work towards. This did also not change with the next two sets of vault weapons that were added with the updates 2.1 and 2.2, and they included the P90 SMG, the GOL Sniper Magnum, the ACWR Assault Rifle, the AKS-74U SMG, and the two sidearms M1911 and MP412 Rex. And even though the performance of the first two vault weapons M16 and M60 was balanced out pretty well with the same updates, the other weapons vary a lot from hard to play, like the AKS-74U, to almost a bit too good, like the GOL Sniper Magnum. The others are somewhere in between. So in general, I really like that they bring over the weapons from Portal to add more variety and also more weapons in general, but I hope that they will spend a little more time on them in Season 3 to get the balance right, and also maybe even add some unlock requirements for the attachments and at least a tier 1 skin for each of the weapons. I also hope they will keep updating the already existing vault weapons so they will have a good balance at some point. Right now they are nice to have, but it can be a bit of a struggle to play with them. Besides the new map, the Specialist and the already mentioned weapons, we also got a new gadget and 2 new vehicles with Season 2. And the new gadget was the Concussion Grenade, a mix between Flash and Stun Grenade, and when watching the trailer I was a bit afraid it could be as annoying as it is in Call of Duty and you permanently get flashed by one of those things in close combat. But luckily this isn't the case, and the grenade was pretty balanced right from the start as well, and there's also not so many people who play it, to be honest. Maybe because the grenade is not too useful on the maps of 2042, but even if there is a weekly mission for it and you have to use it, it's not getting too annoying. So definitely a compliment to the developers here for getting this gadget balanced absolutely perfect right from the start, cause this could have gone horribly wrong. In addition, they even added an option to the settings with which you can change the effect of the grenade from bright to dark, so if you are playing in a dark environment, this can be very helpful. The 2 new vehicles that were added as well are the EBLC Ram, a fast and agile tank that is easy to handle and maneuver but on the loss of armor, and the Polaris RZR, a transport vehicle that can be found at different locations on the map and that extends the existing pool of transport vehicles like the tuk-tuk or the quad. Both are pretty balanced and helpful, and I can't say anything negative about them. The tank is quite nice if you prefer agility over heavy armor, and you can also place an extended insertion beacon with it that allows all of your teammates to spawn at the set location and not only your squad mates like it is with a normal beacon. So I always found that it's a great team play vehicle and very useful to get behind enemy lines and break spawn traps. I hope that they can keep this balance with the tank in the next season as well and won't have to make a lot of adjustments here like they had to do to the stealth helicopters in Season 1, but from the gameplay I've seen so far, it looks pretty good. And then at the end, just a few words to the Battle Pass and the weekly missions. The Battle Pass rewards have been at the same level as Season 1 in my opinion, and there were some pretty good looking weapon and specialist skins available, but also a lot of stuffing. But that's basically what the Battle Pass of all games with this system looks like, so Battlefield is not doing a better or worse job here than any other live service game. Same with the in-game store. The bundles are at a normal price compared to other games, and I also like that the cosmetics of former seasons stay in the shop. So if you miss out on the season or you don't have enough coins yet, you can still get the cosmetic item or bundle you want at a later time. The only thing that is a bit annoying is the season's player card badge, cause it wasn't counting properly in Season 1 already, and now in Season 2 we had the same issues again, and even after all the fixes they made to this, it's not working correctly all the time. There is still a delay between earning the points and them showing up at the badge, and for me, for example, more than 100 points got lost throughout the season, and that's pretty annoying. And especially for the players who just earned enough points at the end of the season to get the Tier 1 badge, they might not receive it because of the delay. So I hope they are able to fix it for Season 3 and also find a way to compensate the players who had earned enough points in Season 1 and 2 but didn't receive the badge. The weekly missions, on the other hand, were a bit tweaked in Season 2, and the first section was made easier than it was in Season 1 to give more people the chance to unlock and complete the bonus mission. And I found that this was a good change, especially for the ones who can't play that much, but then again, for the ones who play a lot, these missions might not be challenging enough. It sure is hard to hit a sweet spot here, but maybe it would be a good solution to introduce additional daily missions like in Call of Duty or Apex Legends that grant normal XP for the ones who complete them. So this way the players with less time would not miss out on any Battle Pass points, but the players with more time have a higher motivation to jump into the game every day. And then we also had the Liquidators mid-season event that was a great idea in general, but also had some weaknesses, but I've done a complete video about this already, so I'm not going more into detail here. We also know that the developers have learned from the feedback of the community that was basically that the event was too focused on cosmetic items in the store instead of offering items that can be unlocked by playing, so they will make improvements to the next event, probably include more unlockable stuff and also make it more interesting and rewarding to jump in and play. But in general, I found that the idea of the event was pretty good, because usually the player count starts to decline about halfway into the season, and something like this is a good way to keep players engaged and interested in the game. And since they said they will make improvements to the next one, it's also confirmed that there will be another event held during Season 3. In addition to all of this, there were also many bug fixes and improvements made during the season, with a bigger update at the beginning and then following updates every 4 weeks, and this will also be kept up during Season 3. So there's a constant flow of changes and improvements, and also additions to the game like the reworked maps or the vault weapons. Overall, I think that Season 2 was definitely an improvement compared to Season 1, and except for the map Stranded, I found that the content was a lot better, no matter if it is the weapons, the specialist or the cosmetic items. The only point of criticism for me was the mid-season event, but there will also be changes made with the next one, so the developers are willing to take feedback and criticism and use it as a foundation to improve the game. And I hope that they will keep up this good work with Season 3 and 4 and beyond. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this recap of Season 2 Master of Arms, even though it's a bit longer than my usual videos. But if you did, be sure to drop a like or a comment below and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.